Welcome to the XL Arena, where we got the bronze medal match of the sitting volleyball between Germany and Russia. This match is starting a little bit late because of the 5th and 6th classification match between Brazil and Egypt, which ran into 5 sets. Brazil winning that in a really tight game. They won that 3-2, and so they take 5th spot. Egypt move into 6th. This game obviously is the bronze medal match, as I've already mentioned, between Germany and Russia. Because the kits change on most matches, I should point out early on that Germany are going to be wearing black today, or are wearing black already, and Russia are the team in red. You can see them now just getting ready for the start of the game. A few last words from the manager and the coach before they come in. Some Brazilian fans there, obviously still excited, having seen their team win the 5th and 6th game. They seem exceptionally excited. So the interesting thing about this bronze medal match, first of all, is that if you've been following the sitting volleyball tournament, these two teams did play in the Pool A game, and in that match, as you will recall, Germany won that match 3-2. It went to a 5th set, and Germany won it by 2 points in that 5th set, winning it 15-13. Just to explain the scoring in sitting volleyball, it's the best of 5 sets. The first 4 sets go to 25 points. You have to win by at least 2 points. The 5th set, if it is required, only goes to 15 points, but again, you still have to win by 2 points. You can probably hear the in-stadium announcers there just introducing the referees to the crowd. The referees are obviously important. They keep control of the game, keep the players under order. Obviously it's a non-contact sport because there's a net in the middle, but there are still occasions when the referee has to get involved. So the starting lineup coming on for Russia, you can see it there on the screen. They are starting with their libero, who, as you know already, is a specialist defensive player. He's not allowed to play any attacking shots. Players to look out for on the Russian side. They have the 2 highest scoring players in the tournament so far. In number 12, Alexander Savichev, who is the top scorer in the tournament so far, and also number 3, Victor Milanin. Between them, they've scored over 50% of Russia's points. So if those two are going well, then you know that Russia are going to be going well. Some German spectators in the crowd getting excited. Now this is the bronze medal match, and obviously it's important for these teams to go home with a medal, but in a way it's almost more important, and I'll explain that after we've seen the starting lineup for Germany. Alexander Schiffler, who is wearing shirt number 1 there, is the highest scorer for the German team in the tournament so far. He is their main spiker. His coach taking the applause of the crowd. Rather natty beard. So as I was explaining, obviously it's important because this is the bronze medal match and you want to go home with a medal, having come all the way from either Germany or Russia to these games in London. But the thing with sitting volleyball is that the two teams in the final, Iran and Bosnia and Herzegovina, have been dominating this sport between them for at least 4 years. The Iranians have been dominating it for a lot longer. They've won 5 of the last 6 gold medals. So in effect, this really is the same as a gold medal match, because those two teams who are in the final today pretty much have blocked everyone out. So Germany are going to be serving first. Schiffler. And the first point goes to Germany. A clever little spike there, just tipping it over the hands of the blockers. You'll see 2 types of attacking shots, really, or 2 main types. There is the spike, where they really try to slam it, and then there's the sort of tip spike, where they try and just push it over the defensive blockers, which is, in a way, sort of like a dummy shot. Russians draw level. There's some excellent blocking from the German team, but eventually the Russians found a gap in their defence. All the attacking on that point was coming from the Russians, and eventually they got what they deserved. The Germans winning that point. If you weren't watching closely, you might have thought he'd hit that straight out, but that actually hit the fingertips of the Russian blocker. It went out of play, and so that's a point to Germany. Neck and neck early on. As I mentioned, these two teams did play earlier in the tournament in Pool A. It was 3-2, a very close game, and the sets went one way then the other, one way then the other. No one really got a lead until those final 2 points. Russia getting their noses ahead for the first time. And again, if this is the first time for you watching sitting volleyball, you'll notice that when a team wins the point, if they're already serving, they maintain the serve. If they win the point when they're not serving, they then get the serve of the next point. So it's very early doors in this game, but Russia for the first time opening up a 2-point gap. It was a good set there, but unfortunately the spike from Schrapp, the captain of the German team, went a little bit long. So that's another point for Russia. They now opened up a 3-point lead. You see the sweepers come on every now and then when there's a timeout. Obviously, as the players are moving around the pitch, there's little bits of sweat and detritus which get put on the pitch, and obviously they need to be mopped up whenever there's an opportunity. You'll notice that often the team will call a timeout when they've suddenly lost 2 or 3 points in a row. Sometimes it's just to give them a break, sometimes it's to pass on some tactical know-how from the coach. When these two played in Pool A, it was Germany who got that first set, got their noses ahead, and were never really behind again. So the Russians are obviously keen to take an early lead and to try and get this first set on the board. Again, great blocking there by the Russians. Germany will leave there to get a point, having lost the last 5 in a row. Russia 6-3 up. A lovely spike there from Schrapp, finding the gap at the back of the court. Wiesenthal serving for Germany. And again, that's another example of one of those spikes where they just tip it over the net. The blockers are obviously expecting the hard spike, and they get ready for that. And then when it comes a little bit softer, it's difficult to change your muscle to deal with that. So the serve moves to Russia. They're 7-3 in the lead. Excellent serve there. It's very rare, unlike tennis, I suppose, but it's very rare in sitting volleyball that you get an ace. It's a lot more difficult to do because the court is so covered by those 6 players on the other side of the net. And that was an ace from the Russians there, and they take an 8-3 lead. Number 12, Alexander Savichev. He is the top scorer in the tournament, or he was at the start of this, or before this game began. Scored over a quarter of the Russian points. Well, we've just got this gap in play. I should point out that you obviously can watch us during the games. Well, you know that already because you are watching us. But just in case you want to pass it on to someone else and you've forgotten what you typed into your URL, it's paralympic.org. You can also look for us on Facebook at facebook.com/Paralympic Games. And of course, these days you can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter tag is @Paralympic. And if you want to say anything about the sitting volleyball, if you do hashtag #SitVball, that's S-I-T, V for Victor, B-A-L-L. And we'll see if we can read out any of the more interesting tweets that we get from you as you follow this game. The Germans there were blocking, but unfortunately the Russians got that point. They now move 9-4 into the lead. It seems to me that the Russians have come into this game having lost in the group game, determined to take this first set. They're putting all their energies into it. They seem to be winning most of the spikes. Their blocking seems to be more efficient. And the Germans at the moment don't seem to have any answer to the Russian onslaught. Commentator's curse there. Germany winning that point. It was certainly the longest rally in this match so far. Possibly the longest rally in the whole tournament. Great defense from both sides, and eventually the Russians putting it into the net. So the Germans on the comeback trail there, thanks to me saying how well the Russians were doing. And I'd like to welcome on air Natalia Dannenberg, who's just joined me in the commentary booth. She's heading up the IPC's social media, so if you do want to tweet anything, she will see it and she'll report it to me. She's also well up on sitting volleyball, having caught a few games. I believe you went out for a drink with one of the German players the other day, Natalia.
We did. Well, it was before the game started. We went out with Barbara Sayler.
Ah, yes.
Who's, I don't think he's on the court right now.
No. Maybe he's at the bar waiting for you.
He had a brilliant party trick, though.
I'm going to wait until we have a timeout before you tell us about that party trick. The Germans now have got back within 1 point of the Russians. The Russians were 7 points ahead when I had a long and loving tribute to their opening to this game, and ever since then they haven't won a point, so I apologise to any Russian viewers. And thankfully, because of that apology, the Russians now get a point again. Some brilliant defensive work there by the Germans. But eventually, the ball went out and the Russians take a 2-point lead. And again, the Germans using what I'm going to call the dummy spike, where they come in and just tip it over the net, and that seems to be really effective in this game so far. Now just 1 point in it. Schiffler serving here for the Germans. Pull ahead again by 2 points. In effect, we're sort of halfway through this set. 13-11. Gudienko serving from very far back, a long way back from the court, but it seems to be quite effective. And again, that's another great spike from the Russians. That was Savichev, who's their top scorer, so when the ball comes near him, obviously the setters are going to try and get it to him every time, because when he hits that ball, it stays hit. Gudienko serving from a long way back, and unfortunately didn't quite have the oomph to get it over the net there, so the Germans move back within 2 points. Germans move within 1 point now. This really is a tight first set. Both teams realise that whoever wins this set is going to have a starting point to get to that bronze medal. Good blocking by the Germans again. The Russians find the gap, and guess who it is? It's not Savichev that time, no, it is Lavrinovic. Diagonal shot across the court, finding that gap, and no one could cover that on the German side. Kotshev serving there and defending well. Incredible defence from the Germans there. And that wins them the point. An amazing recovery at the back of the court there by Herzog. I'm not quite sure how he got that far back. Still, the Russians maintaining that 1 point lead. Wiesenthal to serve. Lavrinovic again, spiking that and getting the point. Another timeout is called. Again, you'll see the sweepers in the background coming on and cleaning the courts up. So Natalia, you were going to tell us about an interesting story about Barbara Sayler had a little party trick.
Yeah, he did.
I should just check that it is clean and we can.
It is clean. It's good family fun.
Okay, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, he lives just down the road from the IPC headquarters in Leverkusen.
All right.
That's where he trains, along with quite a lot of the German team actually.
Yeah.
And went out for a drink with him and Heinrich Popov, who's the sprinter, T42 sprinter.
All right.
And halfway through the night, just out of the blue, he turns one of his legs round so that the foot's sticking up in the air.
As you do.
I bet he got a lot of attention from the ladies.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he's used that one as a little chat-up line many times. Did he still have his shoe on?
Yeah, he still has his shoe on.
All right.
And rested his chin on the foot.
Nice. Maybe I'll try that later. See how things go.
I don't think I'm quite flexible enough to do that.
I can just about do it with my elbow and my hand, and that's about it. So we've come back from the timeout. Russians to serve. It's Savichev on the ball, who has an amazing 21 points direct from the serve. As you'll know if you've been watching a lot of the tournament, it's difficult to score straight from the serve. But he's got, before this game started, he had 21 points direct from that serve. So when he's on the ball, you've got to look out. And again, the commentators curse, meaning that Russia lost that point. No team now seems to be able to get any distance between them and the others in this game, in this first set. The Germans hanging on to the Russians' coattail. And that serve going out. It's not like tennis, where if you get your serve wrong the first time, you get a second chance. With the sitting volleyball, if you get it wrong, that's the point lost, and you've lost the serve.
Yeah, and you know that's something that the German team have talked about quite a lot, is consistency.
Yeah.
And Schrapp said just before the games that was one of Germany's biggest weaknesses, is staying consistent in the games.
Yeah, and I think it's really important with the serve, because it's, in sporting terms, it's what we call a closed skill. So in effect, you've got no other pressure on it. You're in control of the ball. You do what you want with it. It's the same as a throw-in in rugby or whatever. And so it's something that you can practice. But what I've noticed during the tournament so far is that if the defensive side is strong, it puts that extra pressure on the serve. And it's not just a case of trying to get it over the net, which is probably what it would be if I was playing. You've got to try and make that serve into an attacking shot. So can Herzog make it into an attacking shot? He can. The Germans get back in the lead for the first time in a long while. It wasn't I think it was 3-2 when they were last in the lead. A great block at the net there by Wiesenthal. And the Germans are 18 all, but they've got the serve. Can they get back into the lead for the first time in a long time? No, they can't. Russians. Just 1 point in the lead. I think we saw one player there just tip the ball with his foot, which might be good for your friend, who's obviously very handy with his feet. As you'll know, you can use any part of your body in sitting volleyball. Obviously, they use their hands the most. We saw one there where the German player kicked it over. Unfortunately, not quite as good at football as he is at volleyball, and that one went out. Russia now take a 2-point lead. Kicks it over there. It's a nice bit of skill, but unfortunately it goes out. Strong defensive work there from the Germans, but the Russians just overpowered them. They just wouldn't let them get that ball into an attacking position.
It's a very athletic team, the Russian side. They
are very athletic, and because I'm a bit of a maths spod, beforehand I added up all their reaches, because we have some stats here where we've got their spike height and their blocking height. And as well as being very athletic, they've got a 5 centimetre advantage over the German side on average.
Right.
Which, when you're trying to get above that net to either spike or to block it, is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always think the interesting thing here, Natalia, when you're looking from that point of view from behind the net, or sort of from behind the court, and you see the players move about, they seem to move as one. And, obviously they train together a lot, but
it's very fluid, isn't it?
It's like they're connected by a short rope, and they sort of move together and they cover that court, which is obviously why it's so difficult to score points. And both sides, which is why it's such a close set, both sides defensively have been excellent so far. Milanin putting it in for Russia. Russia just 3 points from winning this first set. Great block at the net there from Savichev. He scores points, but he also saves them. Milanin again with the serve. Germany winning that point. It's a good spike at the net. A block from the Russians going out. The Russians move within 2 points of victory now, but Natalia is most excited because the chap that she went for a drink with is now on the court, Barbara Sayler.
I'm staying impartial.
Obviously. I shall see what happens when Germany win a point if you're jumping up and down on your chair. Excellent defensive work there from Russia. And again.
I've got a Russian first name and a German surname, so really I'm totally
You're sort of half
split.
and half. I mean, I have to admit that my surname being Tatarsky, I am from the Russian area, so I'm not going to be biased, but Russia are within 1 point of winning this first set. Again, with some fantastic defensive work. A brilliant save there on the right line. So Gordienko again sitting a long way back for this serve, allows him to get a lot more pace on the ball without worrying about it going out at the far end. Fantastic spike there from Schrapp, the German captain, keeping them in the game. I said this is the best of 5 sets, but you really don't want to lose this first set. And that's just pushed long by the Germans, and that is the first set to Russia.
You know, the German team actually trains in the same place as the Olympic beach volleyballers.
I wonder why they do that.
Well, Leverkusen's a really big centre for it because the Bayer Leverkusen, they sponsor a lot of these athletes.
Yeah, well, they do a lot of sport. Obviously, a lot of people have heard of Bayer Leverkusen, the football team, and Leverkusen was also a big sporting centre in Germany. In fact, I believe half the German squad play for Bayer Leverkusen.
Yeah, it's the strongest team in the German National League.
I'm going to ask you a question. You might not know the answer, and I don't know the answer, which is why I'm asking you the question. Is the German league professional?
It's not professional, and it's a lot smaller than other leagues. I think.
I know that the Iranian league is professional.
It's huge. It's huge.
It's amazing.
And I think they don't just have one league. I think they have 5 or 6.
Right.
And the Bosnians have 3.
Yeah. And I think the fact that those 2 countries have got those professional leagues and not just one top division, they've got divisions below them. You've got that pyramid formation which allows you to have a really strong national team.
Yeah, and they get so much match experience as well. That makes the huge difference.
Yeah. When they're playing against, by the simple fact that you've got more teams, you're playing against better teams every week. So you're playing a lot more games, and you're playing a lot more games against better players.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the German team have to travel quite far to play other teams on their level.
Right. You might have noticed there one of the German players having a shoulder rub at half-time. Obviously, this is a game which is punishing on the shoulders. Every shot, every block, every spike that you do is putting pressure on your shoulders. And these teams have played 7 games in the last 10 days, so they've had very little respite. And I'm sure they're all feeling it in their shoulders now, and they're hoping that they can get through the next few sets. Germany, having beaten Russia in the Pool A game, will now be thinking, what can we do to get back into this game? They cannot afford to lose the second set, because to come back from 2 sets of love down is very rare. It's nice to see that the Brazilian fans have stayed on in the crowd, having seen their team secure 5th place.
I just saw some Dutch players from the women's Dutch team also in the crowd.
I think that's been one of the nice things, both in the Olympics and the Paralympics, is fans supporting other teams, but also the athletes all supporting the other athletes. I think because of the nature of the athletes' village, they all get to know each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like a great atmosphere in there tonight.
Okay, so we're coming up now for the start of the second set. Obviously, Russia will want to consolidate their lead. They'll want to start quick and take a 2-set-to-love lead, but the Germans know that they cannot afford to let the Russians pull away. Milanin to serve for the Russians. Great block from Russia at the net there. By Gordienko, who now goes to serve. Good spike there by Herzog. Just found that gap on the left-hand side of or the right-hand side of the Russian defence, left-hand side as we were looking. The German captain Jürgen Schrapp to take this serve. Seems like a lack of communication there by the blockers on the German side. I think Herzog thought that there was going to be a spike there, but the ball just landed at his feet. Very early in this set, just 2-2, no team seemingly able to get an advantage at this point. One of the main or most important rules about sitting volleyball is that some point between your shoulders and your buttocks must be in contact of the ground when you play the point, and we saw there that the German player lifted himself off the ground to defend that point, which is why the point went to Russia. Russia open up a 2-point lead. See the Russian captain there, Sergei Yakunin. He is the oldest player on their team. He's 51 years old, but he's moving about today like he's a teenager.
The German team also has some quite experienced players on their side.
They have. They've got Thomas Renger's 40. He's still 11 years younger than the rest, but they have got.
And Schrapp's been playing for the national side for about 20 years.
Yeah. Schrapp is 38. He's played over 400 games now for them, which is an incredible amount. Now I'm bound to look to see how many Sergei Yakunin has played. He's only played 360, obviously saving himself. Great block from the Germans there, getting that point and pulling the score back to 5-5. Still early in this second set. Just to remind you, if you do want to tweet us, it's at Paralympic, or if you want to put the hashtag in there, if that's easier for you, it's hashtag #SitVBall. Natalia is frantically looking at updates for the Twitter feed. She's getting a bit upset.
We're getting lots of pictures of people in the stadium, actually. It's looking great.
Natalia's now showing me some pictures of people in the stadium, and they do seem to be having an incredibly nice time. She's showing me some more now. I'm just going to check the score while she's doing that. So it's 6-6. Still early in the second set. Neither team able to get any sort of advantage. And again, that's a lifting foul there, and the point goes to Russia. The Germans, in their eagerness, I think, I'm not actually making a note of this, but I think they've now given away 3 points by not keeping into contact with the ground. It's a great spike there by Schiffler. As we mentioned at the start of the commentary, he is their top scorer. What can he do from this serve? That spike is a long way out there from the Russians, from Gordienko. The Germans having edged ahead, called a timeout. I think the Russians need to have some points for having the snazziest tracksuit tops. What do you think, Natalia? Is that something you'd be wearing down the high street?
It's a bit psychedelic, isn't it? It's the type of thing, if you look at it hard enough, it gives you a headache.
Yeah, I think if they stand still but you stare at them, it looks like they're moving.
you think that was the intention of the design?
It might be a tactic. I noticed an interesting thing there on, what was it? I think it was on Schrapp's shirt, on his number 9. It's got a little line at the bottom of the number 9. And I know sometimes when they do draws for competitions and they have a little line at the bottom of the 9, so you know it's a 9 rather than a 6. Seems a bit of a strange thing to have on your shirt. It's not likely that you would put your shirt on upside down.
That's true. It'd be a bit more
You can just see it there. I'm just wondering if we can, hopefully, if we can get a look at the number 6 on the German side, if we can get to see his shirt, whether he's got a line underneath, and whether maybe they play a little game in the change room where one of them does a handstand in the other one's shirt to confuse everyone. German coach there, Rudolf Sonnenbichler, with I think the best beard of the Paralympics. Lovely silver beard. Germany moving 2 points clear as we come back from that timeout. Schiffler serving. Russians getting back in there with a good spike from Gordienko. And the Russians draw level. Germany were 2 points ahead a moment ago, but momentum's so important in this. Actually, I've just worked out what that line underneath the 9 is. It's not because they're worried that it might be a 6. It's because he's captain, because the number 4 for Russia has got a line underneath. That'll teach me for trying to be funny. Shiva with the serve. German defence trying to get it back in with his foot there. The Russians pull it back to 10-all. As soon as one team takes a small advantage, the other team ups their game a little bit and gets back into this game, into this set. Some good blocking by the Russians, but they couldn't keep it in when they spiked it. Germans taking an 11-10 lead. One of the Russian coaches looking nervous, standing by the side of the court. That's a fantastic spike there from Savichev, one of the top scorers on the Russian side. A lovely set by Yakinin. That's his main role in this game. He's a wily old fox. If you watch much American football, you might think of him very much like the quarterback. He sees the players going into attacking positions, he gives them the ball, and they put it away. It's another lifting penalty for Germany, so the Russians take a 1 point lead. Gordienko to put the ball in. And the Germans draw level. So when you went to the pub with Sailor and Natalie, did you discuss a lot of tactics about the game? Is it a game that you knew about before you happened to bump into him in the pub?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was actually. I actually interviewed him at the same time, so it was a sort of work and play situation. And also interviewed the captain, Jürgen Schrapp.
Right.
And one of the things that Schrapp said was about the Russian team was their athleticism and size as well.
Yeah.
And he also said that they have some really strong individual players on there.
Yeah. I mean, they've got the two players who seem to score all their points, and as they've got Yakinin who seems to set up all the points.
But the German team are so hungry for this.
Yeah.
As they missed out in Beijing, they didn't qualify for Beijing.
Right.
And so, they've had to wait 8 years.
Yeah, and of course I should remind viewers that Russia won the bronze in Beijing, so they're protecting that medal that they won then. And as we said earlier, with Bosnia and Herzegovina and Iran being the two best teams in the world, really the bronze is a bit like a gold. Did they mention when you were interviewing them just about how strong those other two teams are and how that affects their mentality when they come into a tournament?
They're incredibly strong. I mean, I think Bosnia now, because there's a lot of their key players were war injured.
Right.
And so now, as the years go by, they're struggling with finding younger players.
Right.
And I think Bosnia is starting to get to the stage where they can be beaten, and I think Germany has beaten them.
Right.
But they are head and shoulders above the other teams.
Yeah. An incredible save at the back there by Gordienko, almost like a goalkeeper. And that strong defensive work allows Russia to win the point, which really was a point that all the way through that point Germany were on the offensive. But Russia kept getting the ball back, and if you can keep doing that, then you're going to win points. Russia draw level as we just go back past the midpoint of this set. Referee having a word with Schrapp. I'm not sure why. If anyone can lip read in German, feel free to tweet us. The Russian coach standing by the pitch. He's been standing by the court almost the whole of this set. Slight lack of communication there in the Russian defence, and the Germans take it a 1-point lead as we come into this timeout. There is the greatest beard in Paralympic sport.
Well, one of the things that the team did say is how instrumental the coach has been to really turn around the German team.
Right.
Rudi Sonnenbichler.
Yeah.
And they said that before he came on board, they weren't really disciplined, they weren't training in a sort of professional manner.
Right.
And he's instilled that discipline and training regime that they really lacked before.
Yeah, because I was looking back at the records, they won a bronze back in 1992, but since then they've won nothing. So, and they'd won silver a few years before that in '84. So yeah, he seems to have turned them around. Do you know how long he's been coach?
I think it came after Beijing in 2008.
All right, having not qualified,
No.
they knew it was time for a change. He doesn't look like the sort of chap that you would argue with. As we come back after that timeout, Germany are leading 16-15. Germany aware that they really do need to win this set, otherwise there'll be 2 sets to love down and have what is already a difficult task, have a real mountain to climb. Can the Russians keep it going, getting their noses in front of this set and take a 2-0 lead? Another point for Russia. You'll notice that every time they do the initial dig, that goes to Yakinin. He then puts it across to Savichev, and bang, that's a point for Russia. Obviously, there comes a point where they need to vary that tactic, because if you become a bit too predictable in this game, then the defensive blockers know where the ball's going to go and they can block it. That block goes out for Russia. Germany regain their 1-point lead. We edge towards the end of this set. Germany take what could be a vital 2-point lead. Herzog putting it in for the serve, Yakinin putting it back. Lavrinchov. And the Russians get the point and come back to within 1 point of the Germans. Lavrinovic to put it in. He just won that point with a spike. Quick hands in the Russian defence, but not quite quick enough to get it back over the net, and the Germans regain that 2-point lead. They seem to be exchanging point for point here, but the Russians just can't get back level. Which way do you think this set's going to go, Natalia?
I have no idea. I mean, it's really back and forth, isn't it?
It's and just at that point, the Germans take a 3-point lead, and that could be the big. It's the first time they've had a lead that big in this set, and it's a good time to get it with just 5 points away from winning the set. Fantastic spike at the net, Milanin.
I mean, both teams just really want it, don't they?
I think it's easy if you're sitting at home watching and thinking, well, it's only the bronze medal match, but I think the fact that these two teams are battling so hard, and both sets now have gone to the wire. Neither team wants to give an inch. They're not just here making up the numbers. They want to win this bronze medal.
Absolutely.
And the Russians, having gone 3 points down, suddenly win 3 quick points. And momentum is so vital in this sport. If you win 3 points, suddenly everyone's confident, everyone grows an extra inch, which at the net can make all the difference. And I'm sort of tempted to say whoever wins this next point is going to win the set, and that's probably why there's been a timeout call, because it's time for some cool heads. Natalia, who does speak a little bit of German, was trying to listen in on the coach there and tell me what he was passing on to his team, but unfortunately it was a little bit too quick, I think.
It was too faint as well. I'm a little bit deaf.
So the teams come back on the court. Both of them know that these next 5 points are going to be absolutely vital to the course of this match and where this bronze medal is going. Yakinin puts in the serve. And the German captain, Jürgen Schrapp, wins that point with a great spike. Torben Shiva is going to take the serve. And that goes out, and it really is a ding-dong battle. Once again, neither side can get any sort of advantage. Milanin, the second highest scorer for the Russian team. Excellent serve there. I think I'm going to call that an ace. And he finally gets their noses in the lead. They're just 3 points away from taking a 2-set-to-love lead. One of the incredible army of volunteers coming on there to wipe the pitch, the court. Russia take a 2-point lead and are now only 2 points away from a 2-set-to-love lead. That spike going long. Germans are looking a little nervous because they know that if they go 2-0 down, life is going to be tough. There's another lifting violation by the Germans. They just can't keep their body intact with the court at the moment, and the Russians have 4 set points. Barbara Saylir coming on. Saylir for Thomas Renger. Germans trying to change something as they're close to losing this set. They know they need to do something about this serve, which it's not a hard serve, but it just seems very difficult for them to actually do anything with it. A strong spike by Gordienko, but some great blocking at the net, and the Germans finally have got back into the tail end of this set. They've saved that first set point. What can they do with the serve? Wiesenthal putting it in. And that block landed just on the line. The Russians for a moment thought it had gone out and they'd won the set, but the Germans come back within 1 point. Can they save the set? Again, Wiesenthal to put in the serve. Yakin into Gordienko, and again the Russians thought they'd won the point. But it's 24-24, and as I explained earlier, you need to be 2 points ahead to win a set. Yakinin sets it up for Savichev. He smashes it, but it goes straight out. Timeout is called. And the Germans now have a set point. Savichev, who is normally so reliable for the Russians, unfortunately he just pulled that out, and maybe that's a sign of slight tiredness on his part. It's obviously a good thing to be one of the highest scorers in the team, but suddenly you find that every set is coming to you. Every time the ball is put up at the net, it's up to you to hit that spike in, and unfortunately that one just drifted out to the left. The Russian coach, who was seen standing by the side of the court for the whole of that set, urging his team to take the 2-0 lead, is now passing on words of wisdom. So this next point is absolutely vital. It's going to be the difference between Germany getting back into it 1 set all, the Russians having a chance to take a 2-0 lead again. Yakinin setting it up for Savichev. Great defensive work by Yakinin. And the Germans block it, and they've won the set.
Incredible.
That is an amazing comeback. I thought that the momentum was with the Russians and that they were going to take a 2-0 lead, but as you said, the Germans want this so much, they're not going to let this go without a fight.
Neither are the Russians, though, to be fair.
Oh, no.
But I think there is a real hunger in the German team for it, especially because they missed out 4 years ago.
Yeah.
They didn't qualify for Beijing. And actually, they had quite a tough time qualifying for London.
Right.
They qualified in Egypt in a tournament there.
But sometimes having a tough time qualifying can actually help you in the tournament because it gives you that experience of having those tough, tight games.
Yeah, and it prepares you mentally, I think, for it to have that real determination and the hunger for it.
Yeah. Great defensive work, just looking back at some of the highlights of that set. And you can probably hear in the background Queen singing, who seem to have been the big winners on the music front at this tournament. A little bit early to be playing We Are the Champions, but the crowd seems to like it. So psychologically, this is tough for the Russians. They were very, very close there. They had 4 set points to take a 2-0 lead. And when you're that close to taking a commanding lead in any sport, it's tough when you then suddenly find yourself level.
Yeah. I wouldn't like to call this game.
No, I'm not going to. No, I'm going to stay firmly on the fence. Some relaxed German
Because
fans
as soon as we say something, we're going to get it wrong.
Well, every time that I've pointed out that a player or a team is doing particularly well, they then go on to lose the next 5 points. The Russian coach looking a little bit tired there. Maybe he's just trying to keep a calm head, because at this point there's no point getting excited and losing your head, because it's such a team game. we've pointed out that the Germans have the tournament's 2 top scorers, but because it's a team game, you can have the tournament's 2 top scorers and still not reach the final. It's all about what the team does and how you defend together. So as I mentioned before, the match between these 2 teams in Pool A went to 5 sets, and whilst I'm not prepared to predict who's going to win this match, I'm going to put 50p on the fact that this is going to 5 sets.
Oh, come on, 50p?
50p, but it's an Olympic 50p, so they're actually worth £2.50 if you try and buy them at your post office.
Do I get that 50p then?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to bet with all the viewers because that would cost me a lot. So I will shake hands with you now, Natalia. It's an official 50p bet that it's going to go to 5 sets. Now I'm nervous. Gordienko again with his incredibly long serve. Good attacking play at the net by the Russians. As I mentioned before, that long serve, it allows him to hit it a little bit harder, but it also means that the Russian defence have got a little bit longer to look at it and see where it's going and decide what they're going to do with it. On that occasion, it didn't actually help them. Let's see what they can do this time. Sadly for Gordienko, that went out. And so 2-2. Again, very early in this 3rd set. Don't forget how it's the best of 5 sets. The first 4 sets, it's the first team to 25 points as long as they've got a 2-point advantage. And if it does go to 5 sets, which I hope because of my 50p, that 5th set will go to 15 points. So first team to 15 points. Renger doing a great block there at the net to give the Germans a 3-2 lead. That's called a let there. It's very rare that you see a let. You can serve and it tip the top of the net and go over and they just carry on. It's not like tennis. But the ball seemed to get stuck in between both teams, actually balancing on the top of the net there. I think we're going to have to blame Wiesenthal's serve. He didn't seem to quite reach the net, and so the Russians come back to 3-3. Kartashev serving for Russia. Great spike there at the net by Savichev, the poster boy of the Russian team. You'll notice that for almost the first time in the match so far, the Russians have got their libero on positive. He's not allowed to do any attacking shots. The libero is purely a defensive player. He can set and he can dig, but he's not allowed to play attacking shots. And the Germans bring it back to 4.
They're very spirited, aren't they, this German team?
They are. I mean,
I'd even go as far to say it's passionate. Can you say that about Germans?
I think you could. Would you say spunky?
Spunky, I don't know. Definitely passionate.
Definitely passionate.
Spirited.
The thing is, I think it's such a non-stop, all-action game that if you haven't got that enthusiasm and that level of support amongst your team, you can quite easily just let the energy drop. And also the thing with the sitting volleyball, you have to concentrate on keeping some part of your body in touch with the court, but you've still got to try and lift yourself to try and get those shots in. So it's a very tiring game. Anyone who does Pilates, which is one of these exercise regimes which really does build up your core muscles, your core stomach muscles, I would think it's vital for a sitting volleyball player because you have to lift your whole spine and try and get as high as you can. And it's continuous. So the Germans are now opened up a small gap. It's only 3 points and it's only early in the set. And we've seen in both sets previously when a team has opened up a gap this size, they have been brought back. But can the Germans maintain it? So they've got the serve here. Savichev doing that little tippy spike, which it's almost like it's a sneaky little tactic, because you can see the defensive blockers, they're ready for the smashed spike, and he just tips it over the net, and suddenly they've got to change their whole balance.
Yeah.
Savichev putting in the serve, which means he's not going to be available for the spike, and he hits it long. Maybe that was him saying, "I'd prefer to be at the net, please, boss." So Germany 8-5 up in this third set. 1 set all.
They've just got to maintain this now.
Who, the Germans or the Russians?
Well, the Germans. This is one thing that they know is their big weakness, is staying consistent.
It's a concentration,
yeah.
Keeping it going. That's the thing. I think you can have a short spurt where you get 2 or 3 points in a row, and you think you've got the lead, and you think you're going to win the set. But if you just relax for 5 points, suddenly you're behind again.
Exactly, and one of their other weaknesses is their lack of top match experience as well. So it's sort of tied in together, and really now they have to pull it all together. And
actually, while we've got this timeout, there was another little story that your friend Mr. Sayile told you about when he used to go down the disco.
Yes, he did. Well, you can see he's got a prosthetic leg where he doesn't have it on court. But one of his other little party tricks is to turn the leg around the wrong way and dance on the dance floor with his feet facing different directions.
Would that not mean that he just went in a circle?
I don't know. I shouldn't imagine walking is very easy like that.
No.
But,
it reminds me of a friend that I used to have who had contact lenses, one of which, if you went to a disco with the fluorescent lights, his eye would light up like a blue light, like a robot, and he used to just go up to people and stare at them, and they would then run off. Obviously not a successful tactic, but very interesting nonetheless.
No, I couldn't. I don't know if the ladies would be too impressed by that.
He's probably not listening, so I can quite happily say that it was better than talking to. And after that timeout, we were talking about how the Germans needed to maintain their form, but the Russians have come straight back on court and got straight back into it. And Gordienko smashing that into the midriff of Herzog. Russians got within 2 points of the Germans, but the Germans came straight back, and they've got back their 3-point lead. Schiffler with the serve. Good defensive work there by the Germans. It was a great set there by Milanin, and that was put away by Kartashev. Kartashev is the one player in the Russian squad who's classified as mildly disabled. You're allowed one mildly disabled player on the pitch, on the court at any time, with minimum disability. And the Russians get back to within 1 point. Trapped behind the spike, but unfortunately that ended up hitting one of his teammates in the face. Milanin putting in the serve. And the Russians have drawn level. As Natalia was saying, one of the problems for the Germans is just their concentration and their consistency, trying to keep a consistent level of play up so that when they get these leads, they can maintain them throughout to the end of the set. And once again, as we've seen so many times in this match already, they've let the Russians back in. And again, we can see the Russian coach standing right by the court there. Almost like a disapproving father.
He's incredibly close, isn't he?
He is incredible. I'm sure if the ball comes near him, he's going to try and hit it back over the net. And when that German spike got the point for them, he threw up his hands in despair. You'll see a little dotted line just by the court. He's not allowed closer than that. Just these as close to it as you can possibly be without infringing.
It's almost like a disapproving father, isn't it?
It is like a disapproving father, and it seems to me that it's not helping the Russians, because from what I remember, and I'm sure if we rewound the tape, you could maybe prove me wrong, but I don't think he was doing this in the first set, the set that they won. But since he's been there, they seem to be having problems. So Shiva putting this serve in. The Germans with a 3-point lead at the moment. It's another point for Savichev. Gordienko with his serve from way back when. And the Germans again had got the 3-point lead, and again the Russians have pulled them back. It's almost like they're on a piece of elastic, and the Germans are trying to pull away, but that elastic keeps pulling the Russians back up to them. Again, the Russians get within 1 point. Kartashev with the serve. As you see, I keep pointing out Gordienko's long serve because every other player serves right from on the line. And that spike from the Russians caught the German fingertip, went out, and so that's the point for the Russians. Now, as you'll know, each side, when the ball is on their side of the court, they're allowed 3 touches. A defensive block doesn't count as a touch, so if you block it and it hits your fingertips as it comes over, that doesn't count as a touch. So you'll see there was a fingertip touch at the net, and then they had 3 subsequent touches and won the point with that spike from Voloznikov. He always seems to go on the diagonal when he does those spikes. Number 9.
German coach looks a bit more relaxed, doesn't he?
He looks like he's on holiday, just waiting for his G&T to be delivered. Whereas the Russian coach he's all over the team. There he is. Don't look at his tracksuit top for too long. We can't help what that does to your picture. His name is Viktor Diakov. He's now ambling back for this timeout to pass on what he learned from standing so close.
He's smiling, kind
He
of.
seems a lot happy. Well, they've come back into it. I think since the last time out. Last time out they were 3 points behind. Now they're level. Neither coaches seem to get that animated. They're all quite calm when they're passing on instructions. I think, you know, it's a vital game because they're going for the bronze medal match, and you might expect maybe some teacup throwing activity, but they're quite calm, passing on instructions, making sure that those instructions go in and that they're acted out upon on the pitch, on the court.
The German coach used to be national trainer for the standing team.
Ah, right.
For the able-bodied team.
Victor Milanin, who has not shaved since the start of the tournament.
Is that right?
Well, it
or
doesn't
is
look,
that just a general observation?
It's just a general observation. Alexander Savichev there, who, the baby-faced assassin, I think we'd have to call him, because he doesn't look old enough to grow a beard. He's putting this serve in, but he, as we know, is their top scorer. So the Russians take a 2-point lead. Savichev is only 23 years old. He's less than half the age of their oldest player. Sergei Yakunin, who sets up so many points for him. So the Russians are now 3 points in the lead, and another timeout is called. It seems to be that whenever one team or the other gets any sort of lead, the timeout is called. See one of the players there with a snazzy haircut, the number 3 for the Germans. Thomas Renger seems to have the Paralympic symbol shaved and dyed into the side of his hair.
It's quite nice. I wonder if he got it done in the village.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll take that off before he goes back to work when he gets home. So the teams come back to the court with the Russians 3 points ahead, 18-15 in the lead. Savichev, who I've now declared his nickname being the baby-faced assassin, putting in the serve. It's a quick serve on this occasion. The Germans win the points from good defensive work from them and the blocks from Milinin. Not able to get it back over the net. Savichev, his serve is actually the most effective serve, I think, in the tournament. On that occasion, the Germans managed to defend it well and come back to within 2 points. Renger putting it in for the Germans. It's a strong shot from the Germans, but you'll see again they lost the point. You might see it here in the we saw it there in the slow motion. As Schiffler went to take the shot, he lifted his bottom off the court, which is a violation of the rules. You're not allowed to lose contact with the court when you're taking a shot. You have to have something between your shoulders and your buttocks still touching the court when you take your shot. And on that occasion, it was a great spike, but unfortunately, he was off the ground. So the point went to the Russians. They regained their 3-point lead, but the Germans there, while I've been talking, have taken a point back, just 2 points in it. Great defensive work from the Germans. Seems to me that the referee has called the let. Gave the serve to the Germans. And the Russians take a 3-point lead again. I don't think at any point in this set any team has got more than 3 points ahead. Can they do it now? They have their veteran captain, Sergei Yakunin, taking the serve. Going to Russia. They take a 4-point lead. I think that's the biggest lead any team's had so far in this set. Timeout there called by Germany. Just referring back to when these teams played each other in the Pool A match, which was 3-2. On that occasion, the Germans won the first set, then the Russians, then the Germans, then the Russians, and finally the Germans. In this match so far, it's gone the other way, with the Russians winning the first set, the Germans winning the second. If the Russians win the third, we'll be on track for my 50p win. Don't forget, if you are one of the world's 900 million Facebook users, is it 900 million Facebook users? Or have I exaggerated?
Like
Something ridiculously big. If you are on Facebook, you can follow us and like us, or marginally not dislike us, if that's what you want. I'm not quite
Sounds
sure.
Sounds a bit desperate, doesn't it?
Yeah,
saying like us, please
okay.
like us.
Yeah, don't like us, just do something, hey? As long as you're not ignoring us. Facebook.com/Paralympic Games. You don't just have to follow the City Volleyball. There's lots of other sports going on today, which is the last full programme of events in this year's Paralympics. You can follow us on Twitter @Paralympic. And if you want to actually get our attention, if you do #SitVBall, so SITVBALL, Natalia will pick up anything that you say, and if it's not too rude, she might even pass it on to me. Some good defensive work at the net there from the Germans, pulling them back to within 3 points of Russia. 22-19. Yakinin setting it up there for Milinin, and the Russians are within 2 points of taking a 2-set-to-1 lead. At some point during this afternoon, I'm going to see if we can get some statistics for the assists that Yakinin has done in the tournament so far, because when he sets it up so well, they normally win the point. Germans coming within 3 points of the Russians now. Barbaros Sayelin taking the serve. Yakinin doing the set. Savichev catching the fingertips of the Germans. And again, the Russians have 4 set points. But if you remember, in the second set, the Russians had 4 set points and lost the set. So the Germans will know that this is not over yet. A set point does not mean the same as having won the set. Gordienko with the serve. And the Germans win the point. The Russians will now be thinking to themselves, we threw away 4 set points last time. Are we going to do it again? Wiesenthal with the serve. Germany will not give up on this. They know that they came back from 4 points last time to win the set. And so that's called a let. You'll see that basically what happened there, the ball in effect got stuck between the blockers on each side, and so the referee called it a let. Wiesenthal takes the serve again. It's a good block by a good dig by Wiesenthal. It's the set, and the Germans win another point. Yakinin shouting instructions at the rest of the team, as well as being the oldest player. He is their captain, which is what that little line underneath his number signifies. Wiesenthal with the serve. They've won the last 3 points. And the Russians secure the set. They were beginning to get a little bit nervy there, but they have secured that set to take a 2-set-to-1 lead. This match so far is going the exact opposite of the Pool A game. We've now had 3 sets. The Germans need to win the next set, otherwise the bronze medal will be going back to Russia, as it did 4 years ago in Beijing. And again, you can see those people in the purple t-shirts coming on to clean the court, as we see some of the highlights of that third set. The statistics, which it's not an easy word to say. They set 3 statistics there, but the only statistic that counts is the fact that the Russians won it 25-22. Crowd being entertained as usual by some pumping tunes. They're wearing orange, so we have to assume that they're Dutch. And we can see by the plastic badges that which have a little a capital A and a small a that they are athletes. And again, golden rule: if you're wearing orange, you must be a Dutch fan or a Dutch athlete, or occasionally one of the security people. The Russian team will desperately not want this to go to a 5th set. They won't be worried about my 50p bet. They will want to put this one to bed and take that gold, that bronze medal home. Savicev, one of their golden boys, looking calm and relaxed. They won the last set to take a 2-set-to-1 lead. The coach, as he's done for the last 2 sets, will go and stand just in that little technical area there. He's not allowed in front of that dotted line. Maybe he hopes that his psychedelically patterned tracksuit top will put off the Germans, and it did in that last set. Every set so far has been over 20 minutes. The first set was 20. The second set, an amazing 26 minutes. And the third set, 22 minutes. Savicev with the spike there, but it going straight out. The Russians were convinced that that took a German fingertip, and they have persuaded the referee, the umpire, to change his mind, and he very graciously acknowledges that he made the error. The Russians take a 1-0 lead at the start of this 4th set. Milanin with the serve. And the Germans win that point to make it 1-1. Early exchanges in this set. Both teams hoping to take a little bit of a lead, try and get some daylight between them and the other team, but as we've seen in every set so far, in the early stages of the sets, no team has managed to get more than 2 or 3 points ahead. These teams are so closely matched. Their records in the pool stages were almost identical. Obviously, apart from the game where they played each other, which the Germans, as I've said before, the Germans won. They both beat Morocco 3-0. They both sadly beat Great Britain 3-0. And the Germans beat Egypt 3-1. The Russians had a slightly closer game with Egypt 3-2. So we can see they are incredibly closely matched. And in that match where they played each other in the pool, it was 3-2, but it was decided in the 5th set. 15-13. You don't get any closer than that. And so that's why I'm pretty sure that my 50p bet is safe, that we are going to go to a 5th set. And to make sure that that happens, the Germans are going to have to win this set here, and they pull it back to 3-all. Thomas Renger with the serve. Recently turned 40. It was his 40th birthday on the 19th of August. And so for him, he'll be hoping that life does begin at 40 and that he will get a bronze medal in this tournament. I'm wondering whether he had the Paralympic symbol shaved into the side of his head as a celebration for that 40th birthday. Savicev again demonstrating there the little tippy spike rather than the smash spike. It's almost a dummy spike, really. Both teams thinking they've won that point. Spike from Schiffler, which the Russians thought was out, but the 2 umpires decided was in, so the Germans take a 5-3 lead. The birthday boy from a few weeks ago, again serving. Yakinin with the set. One of the Russians guilty of lifting off the court there. A point going to Germany. They open up a 3-point lead. It's early in the set. Yakinin with the set. It's a great spike there from Volosnikov. Sorry, from Lavrinovic. My mistake. Savicev with the serve. Renger set it, and Schiffler put it away. Germans maintaining a 3-point lead. Herzog's going to put the next serve in. That spike taking the fingers of the Russian blockers. Yakinin, as always, with the set, but Milanin didn't lift himself there, and that's why the ball went long. If you don't lift yourself on a spike, and when I say lift yourself, I don't mean lift yourself off the ground. It's what I was talking about before, about the core strength, where you have to get your spine as long and tall as you can. Lift those shoulders, lift the arm, get that shoulder high, get the hand above the ball so that when you spike it, that's going to go in. But there, Milanin looking a little bit tired, and his spike went long. So the Germans taking a 3-point lead. Here in the background, some music from the XL South Arena. It's been a feature of this year's Paralympics and the Olympics. Apparently they had 2012 music tracks to choose from. Not sure where they got that number from. I haven't seen an official chart of the music that has been used at the Olympics and the Paralympics, but I would put my shirt on the fact that Queen are near the top of the list. So Germany 8-4 up as we come back from that timeout.
They also played a Queen medley at the village welcoming ceremonies.
Did
as well.
they? Well, I'm sure the writers of those Queen songs are very pleased with the royalties that they'll be getting on the back of the London Games. Germany winning that point, taking a 5-point lead. Now, we've not seen this in any of the 3 previous sets. No team has really taken a big lead early in the set. But Wiesenthal there winning that point, putting the Germans 5 ahead. And as soon as I mention the fact that they're 5 ahead, obviously the Russians will win a point and go just 4 points behind the Germans. The purple T-shirted volunteer coming on there, doing a little interim wipe of the court as Yakinin takes up his position by the net, ready to set up. It's a good serve, but the Germans managed to get it back in play. Yakinin with the set, Milanin with the spike, and again he's done it long. He's been so reliable in this tournament so far. He is the 2nd highest scorer for the Russians. But in the last few points, suddenly Milanin's spikes are going long, and Yakinin is looking at him, and Milanin is looking like a naughty child who has been given some sweets by his father but has thrown them in the bin. Russians there ignoring Milanin for the spike. They're coming back within 4 points of the Germans, but Yakinin really not happy with what Milanin was doing there. He's moved back now to take the serve. Milanin might look back at him and say, well, that wasn't so good, Sergei. As the oldest player on the Russian team puts it straight into the net, and maybe not connected, but he's taken off at this point and replaced by Alexei Volkov, a full 22 years younger than him. Maybe Yakinin just needs a little bit of a rest. The Russians coming into the 4th set, or halfway through the 4th set, are beginning to look a little bit tired. They had a massive effort to win the 3rd set. But I have to say they're looking a little bit weary, and the Germans, maybe their superior athleticism and fitness is proving the difference in this set so far. It was a great set there and a great put away by Gordienko. And the timeout is called, I think. No. So the Germans 11-7 up. Make that 12-7. The Germans are looking the more sprightly. They seem to be cheering a little bit more after they win each point. They seem to be encouraging each other a little bit more when they lose a point. The Russians need to get themselves back together, otherwise this is definitely going to a 5th set. It's a good spike by Savichev, just to keep them within touching distance of the Germans. closer. Maybe they've realised they need to put the effort in now, because if they don't put the effort in now, this is going to go to a 5th set. It's a great block from the Germans. Just to remind you, we're watching the bronze medal match here, the men's sitting volleyball. It's Germany versus Russia. Russia are 2 sets to 1 up, but the Germans are winning in this 4th set by 13 points to 9. It's the first team to 25 will win this set. They have to have a 2-point lead. The Germans take a 5-point lead here now, 14-9. They can sense that the Russians are flagging, and that seems to be helping them. Savichev with the spike, but great defensive work by the Germans. And the block goes out from the Russians. That's 15-9, the Germans lead by 6 points. Schrapp with the serve for Germany. The Russians win their first point for quite a while there. That's now 15-10. Russians with the serve. Kartashev with it. That's a great spike from Schiffler. He wasn't that close to the net when he did it, but he got height. He lifted his shoulders as high as he possibly could without losing touch with the court, and that went well into a large unprotected area at the back court of the Russian side of the net. Russian coach there, Viktor Dyakov, trying to encourage his troops. He'll know that they're looking a little bit tired, and he'll know that if they're going to win this bronze medal, they really need to do it in this set, because my gut feel is if it goes to 5 sets, the Germans are going to win it. Natalia, how are you feeling?
I don't know, I'm still worried about the German consistency. I think the Germans have it in them, and if they can stay focused...
Yeah, which they seem to be doing in this set so far. They've taken a 6-point lead in this set, and they've got over the disappointment of losing the third set. And based on your intimate knowledge of the German team, do you think if it goes to 5 sets, it's their game? She won't commit.
I'm just not sure. I still haven't seen 100% consistency in them, and I sometimes feel like when they get ahead in their game, then that's when they start losing their concentration a little bit.
Okay. Well, they've come back from this timeout 6 points in the lead. Let's see if Natalia is right there. On this occasion, they have concentrated very well at Herzog with a fantastic spike, just slightly badly defended backcourt of the Russians. And you can see there the number 9 for the Russians, Lavrinovich, pointing out the fact that there was no defense in that area, and that spike was almost being asked for by the Russians. They're now 7 points down in this set, and that is a big gap, and that is a big lead to try and come back from. They've got 1 point there. 17-11. Can they get back into this set? It's going to take a special effort. Stefan Hanlein coming on for Christoph Herzog. And the German coach seems to be using his rolling substitutes a little bit more than the Russians, and maybe that's why they're a little bit fresher at this point of the match. Again, the Germans win that point, 18-11. They're now in the lead. The Russians take off Savichev, bring on their libero, Pozitiv. That is a great spike there from Volosnikov. Sorry, I keep getting him mixed up with Lavrinovich. That was Lavrinovich putting that spike to get the point for the Russians and to bring the serve back to them, which he himself will take. great defensive reach there. Four touches on the German side of the net, which you're not allowed to do. So the Russians bring it back another point. So the Russians, even though they were down 7 points at one point, they're now only 4 points behind the Germans.
They're clawing it back.
They are slowly but surely clawing it back. Some great defensive work at the net there by Milanin and Gordienko. They put a block on there which you wouldn't have been able to drive a tank through. They made sure that ball went straight back. The Germans have called a timeout. They're 4 points in the lead.
Apparently, 3 or 4 years ago, before the coach came on board, the team were just constantly arguing amongst each other.
You just can't have that.
No, especially not if you want to play at this level.
Yeah, I mean, what I would suggest to the people watching, if you just pick one point where you don't watch the ball, just pick one of the teams to watch the teams and watch the movement of the players on the court, and you'll see that they seem to move as one. I mentioned it before, it looks like they're all tied together. And you can't do that if you're following the ball. Just pick one team and just look at their movement in and around the net, what they do, how they move together. That point was too short to really be able to do that very well. But hopefully we'll have a longer rally in a moment. The Russians get within 3 points. Lavrinovic taking the serve here. Germans take a 19-15 lead. Hanline up there, encouraging his teammates. The Germans are all egging each other on. They're all talking to each other between the points, trying to keep them up, trying to keep them concentrated. As Natalia has said many times now, the thing that the Germans seem to suffer from is a slight drop in concentration every now and then. And it's at this end of the set, the business end of the set, where you really need to concentrate. And that's what the Germans have done on that point. We're now 5 points ahead of the Russians, and more importantly, maybe only 5 points away from winning the set and sending this into a deciding set. Another lifting violation there. One of the Russian blockers lifting his bottom off the court, and the point goes to the Germans. And that spike from Gordienko goes out. The Germans now just 3 points away from this set. 3 points away from taking this into a decider. And most importantly of all, 3 points away from saving me 50p. Natalia looking distinctly upset by that.
So does that mean that I have to get a special London 12 50p?
Well, that was the bet, I believe.
Where do I get one of these 50p's
You can buy them from the post office for £2.50.
That doesn't sound very fair.
That was the bet, Natalia.
What started off as a 50p bet has now gone up by 500%.
Very good maths, Natalia. Unfortunately, not quite as good as your volleyball predicting. You seemed quite confident when you took the bet. I don't think you thought about the maths at that point because you were so sure you were going to win. Some people waving at the camera. Unfortunately, they're waving at the wrong camera because we're over here. And Schliffler is at the back of the court ready to take this serve. The Germans just 3 points away from winning the set. And Milanin just catching the fingertips of the German defensive blockers there, winning the point. The Russians have come back from big deficits before, but 6 points behind seems too big a gap. A great spike there. Schliffler from quite deep in the court managed to get that one in, and the defence at the back of the Russian court couldn't do anything about it because it was hit with such incredible power. The Russians, even though they're a long way away, and even though the Germans are only within 2 points of winning the set, they're still not going to give up on this, because they know how easily you can have a run of 3 or 4 points and totally change the shape of the set. And again, that just caught the fingertips of the defence, the German blockers. Savicev rather just pulling up his shorts in preparation. This served by Milanin. And suddenly the Russians have won 3 or 4 points in a row. As we said, momentum can shift so quickly in this game. And suddenly the Germans are sitting back. They're looking a little bit worried. Milanin's taking the serve. And the Russians have won another point. They're now only 3 points behind. They were 7 a couple of seconds ago. There's a timeout being called. And the Germans seem a little bit down. A moment ago, it looked like they'd started celebrating winning the set. And maybe that was the problem, Natalia.
Yeah, maybe they... it's that whole thing when you're on the up, and if you relax for just 1 second, the other team are going to take advantage. And
I think there's that element where you know you're 7 or 8 points in the lead, and you lose 1 point, and you think that's all right, it's only 1 point, and then suddenly you've lost 3 or 4 points, and that's exactly what's happened here. And the Russians, I think, can smell the fear on the German side of the net, and coming back from this timeout.
The tables can really turn very quickly in this game.
I think sometimes timeouts are called just to change the momentum. If a team's winning 3 or 4 points in a row, you just call a timeout, get the players off the pitch, get them to relax, gives them a little breather. So Milanin with this serve. If the Russians can win this point, I can see the Germans really starting to wobble. And they have. And Germany are very relieved to win that spike, giving themselves 3 set points. Wiesenthal with the serve. Every player on the court concentrating to their utmost, because this is a vital moment in the set. There's a setup. And the Russians win the point. And that is 1 set point gone. Savicev again proving why he's the top scorer in the tournament so far. Herzog coming back on in this vital end moments in the set. Heinlein, Stefan Heinlein taking a little breather. Maybe getting ready for a 5th set, he hopes. Herzog had just come on, and that was a fantastic substitution, because Herzog had just come back onto the court, won the point. The Germans win the set. How do you feel about that, Natalia? We're going into a 5th set.
It's £2.50 for me, isn't it?
Natalia is smiling through the pain. And this is exactly in reverse what happened in the Pool A game.
The thing is, I'm leaving on Monday. I'm going back to Germany. I don't think the post office is open on Sunday.
There's one in the media village where you can pop down. I saw them before.
Oh, that's convenient for you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where I got the idea. You can pop out between the bronze medal match and the gold medal match.
Are they open on Sundays?
Yes.
Are they open this late?
Yeah, they're open till 7 o'clock.
That is very convenient, isn't it?
So, the bronze medal match.
Did you do this with all of your co-commentators?
First time ever. Let's call it beginner's luck. But in this bronze medal match, before today, these two teams have played 7 matches in 10 days. This is their 8th match, obviously in 11 days, which Natalia could tell you because she is very good at maths. And it's all come down to 1 set. One of these teams is going to go home with a bronze medal. one of these teams is going to go home with, I know it sounds harsh, but with nothing. For the Germans who didn't qualify for Beijing, they took on a coach, as Natalia has explained to us, because they wanted to get more serious about the sport and they wanted to prove that they could compete at the top level, and they've proven in this tournament that they can compete at the top level. But if they go home without the bronze medal, that 4 years of incredibly hard work, the way that they've turned themselves around, will be for nothing. The Russians, they won the bronze medal in Beijing. So in effect, they are the holders of that medal. It is theirs to lose. They will not give it up without a fight. The Germans have recent history on their side. They won the Pool A game 3-2. They won it in a deciding set, and in that deciding set, they won it 15-13.
I think we've got a fight on our hands
We
here.
have got a fight on our hands, and if you're near Twitter and you want to predict the final score in this set, then feel free. Do hashtag #SitTheBall. S for sugar, I, T for Tommy, V for Victor, BALL ball, and then put your prediction in. Germany, their score, Russia, their score. Maybe whoever's correct, Natalia, will give you 50p, which is also £2.50, as we now know.
I am absolutely not betting.
She's not going to bet
all
with
of our
the
viewers.
whole of the viewing audience. But if you do want to predict the score in this deciding set for this bronze medal match at the London 2012 Paralympics, it's Russia versus Germany. It is 2 sets all. Every set so far has been over 20 minutes. And we are now into that final set. Who is going to go home with the bronze medal? It's only the first point, but the Russians have won it. So you've still got time to predict. Hashtag #SitTheBall if you want to put in your prediction. And if you are going to predict, then I wouldn't predict that the Russians will get no points in this final set, because they've already got 2 as they take a 2-0 lead there. Sabachev at the net. The golden boy at this tournament. He's only 23 years old, but he really has been their star. Great defensive effort there, but he couldn't. The number 9 for Russia, Lavrinovic, couldn't quite save it, and the Germans pull it back to 2-1. And in a way, all these points are worth a little bit more than in a normal set, because you only need 15 points to win in the 5th set. Russia take a 2-point lead. Kartashev with the serve. Sabachev adjusting his ponytail. And the Germans get the Russian fingertips on the block, win the point, pull it back to 3-2. Based on what we've seen before, I don't think any team is going to take more than a 1 or 2 point lead at any point in this set until right at the very end.
I don't know about you, but I'm on the edge of my seat.
She is, quite literally, sitting on the edge of her seat. Yakinin is back on the pitch. Number 9 for Russia, totally misjudging that spike, sending it flying out the court, putting the photographers around the court in danger and making the score 3-all. Germany with the serve. Their captain, Jürgen Schrapp. Yakinin with the setup. But again, I think I touched the net, I think. And so the point goes to Germany, who for the first time in this set take the lead. Yeah, he touched the net after he'd done the spike. A little bit unfortunate. The Russians pull it back to 4-all. It is nip and tuck. Are you prepared to make a prediction yet, Natalia?
I'm not, but I'm going to throw this back to you.
I'm going to say that the team that wins this set will have at least 15 points. The team that loses will have at least 2 points less than them. But other than that, I'm not prepared to make any more bets today. Having won one, I think I know when to
I think
quit.
I'm in agreement with you. It's going to be really close. I think it'll be within 2 points.
It will. I don't think any team is going to pull away and win it by several points. Again, great point for Germany there. Alexander Schiffler just tipped that one over the net. What I call the sneaky spike. The blockers went up. He tipped it over their fingers. The defensive player at the back of the court couldn't get forward. He was waiting for the aggressive spike. The Germans pull it back to 5-all. Milanin not able to get the spike in there. The Germans take a 1-point lead. Milanin is the second highest point scorer in the tournament. Second highest point scorer, obviously, therefore, for Russia. But he seems to have lost his form in the fourth and the fifth set. He's lost a little bit of energy, it seems to me. Quick handwork there from Lavrinovic. Milanin trying the sneaky spike. That didn't work. The ball came back, and then he tried a proper one. And because I'd criticised him, he proved me wrong and won the point. Lavrinovic with the serve. 6-all. Almost halfway through this set. The Germans take a 1-point lead. But what they need to do is capitalise on taking the lead, capitalise on getting the serve back, and try and stretch that lead to more than 1 point. And yet again, they can't do it. 7-all. There we see another one of the fantastic games volunteers, the games makers, who've really been the well, I wouldn't say the unsung stars of these games, because everyone has been saying how brilliant they've been. I haven't met a single person.
They've been fantastic.
They have been amazing. Every day that I've been at the games, they've been amazing. I haven't seen one of them complain. They have got, it's almost like they've got artificial smiles plastered onto their faces because they are continually smiling.
Brilliant, and I mean, really, events like this wouldn't be possible at all without them.
No.
It's totally reliant on people giving up their time.
70,000 volunteers, which is enough for a good-sized town. On their own, they could almost fill the Olympic Stadium. And I did see a tweet earlier today from Jessica Ennis to all the volunteers. If you're a volunteer and you're listening, or if you know a volunteer, Jessica Ennis said that when they have the Olympic parade for the Olympic and Paralympic parade for the Team GB gold medal winners on Monday, if you were a volunteer at the games, either the Paralympics or the Olympics, wear your uniform on Monday, because all of those players want to be, all of those athletes, they want to be able to say their thank you to you, and they're going to pick you out in the crowd and wave to you, because I know that for all of them you made it a special game for them, and a lot of them have been to many games around the world, and every single one of them said how amazing it's been. So if you've got a volunteer's uniform, wear it with pride on Monday.
And quite a lot of the people working for Paralympic Sport TV are also volunteers.
Indeed they are, and I hope that they'll be around for the parade on Monday. The Russians unable to get that spike over the net. Schiffler now serving for Germany. They have a 9-7 lead. If they can make this a 3-point lead, we could be seeing the vital turn in events in this match, and it could mean the bronze medal going to Germany. Russia put that out. The point goes to Germany. They're now 10-7 up. Don't forget, or you might have forgotten, I will remind you, in that second set, when Russia were 1-0 up, they had 4 set points to take a 2-0 lead. The Germans came back. It could have been all over almost at that point. Now the Germans only 2 points in the lead, but they have that vital lead. Germany have not won a medal in this event since 1992 when they won the bronze. Before that, they only won the silver in 1984. Russia, the current bronze medal holders from Beijing, pulled to within 1 point of Germany. Just while we've got this timeout, some interesting news from one of the other sports, the wheelchair rugby, which, as you'll know, is nicknamed Murder Ball. America have just lost in the semi-final. They won the gold in Beijing. They were the massive favourites for the gold at this tournament, but they have gone out, according to my source, Natalia.
Yeah, incredible shot player, really. They're playing Canada in the semi-finals. And the final result, it was close. 50-49 to Canada.
Canada have knocked out America, the USA, 50-49 in the semi-final of the wheelchair rugby. And here, in the bronze medal match for the sitting volleyball, the Russians, having been 4 points behind in this final set, are now 1 point in the lead. They just had the serve from Milanin. Yakinin does the setup for Savichev. That's a great spike from the Germans. And the Russians, Yakinin, the oldest player on the pitch. I need it to be confirmed, but as far as I'm aware, the oldest player in the tournament. He's 51 years old. It's a good dig by Milanin there. Yakinin could not quite get back to it, and it's 11-all here in this fifth set. Don't forget, the fifth set is only played to 15 points, but you still need to be 2 points, 2 clear points in the lead to win. That point goes to Germany. They take a 12-11 lead. They have the serve. Yakinin with the set for Russia, for Savichev, but he doesn't manage to get it past the block. The Germans take a vital 2-point lead. They're only 2 points away from a bronze medal. They didn't even qualify for the tournament in Beijing. They took on a new coach who'd been the coach for the standing volleyball team, and he has turned this team around. Can they repay their faith in him? Can they repay themselves for all the hard work they've put in to win this bronze medal? But the Russians, they have not given up, and they're not going to give up. They pull it back to 13-12. Their coach prowling the touchline, pleading for more effort. 12-13, the Russians trail. The put in by Gordienko. Two touches by a single player, not allowed, and the Russians pull it back to 13-all. A timeout is called by Germany. And so we are poised after 11 days of competition, after almost five sets. These teams cannot be separated. As I mentioned before, in the Pool A game, it went to 5 sets. The fifth set went 15-13. We are now 13-all in this bronze medal match. The Russian coach, Viktor Diakov, talking to his players. The German supporters in the crowd, one of them yawning, but I don't think that's through tiredness or boredom. That is just through lack of oxygen, because this stadium is going crazy because they want to see who's going to win this bronze medal match. 13-all. Only one team can win a medal in this match. And Gordienko puts it in. Great defensive work by the Germans. Savichev, the golden boy of the Russians, puts them 1 point away from the bronze medal. He has been their top scorer. He has been the top scorer in the tournament. He is the only player in their team with a ponytail. And now they are 1 point away from the bronze medal, thanks to his spike. Gordienko, he of the long serve. Puts it in, but the Germans, they are not giving up. In the Pool A game, this fifth set was won by the Germans 15-13. It's now 14-all. We are now in a situation where whoever blinks first is going to go home without the medal. Savichev goes for the spike, but he puts it long. 20 seconds ago, he was the hero. He'd given them a match point. He'd given them a bronze medal point, but now he's put the ball out to give the Germans a bronze medal point. But to be honest, I still wouldn't bet on who's going to win this game. And Savichev puts it out. And the Germans have won the bronze medal, 16-14, and they are going crazy. After 5 sets, you wouldn't have thought they'd have the energy to do this, but they are piling up. I wouldn't want to be at the bottom of that pile, and their coach, quite sensibly, is doing his own little pile with one of his co-coaches on the other side of the court. The German team are ecstatic. And as we said before, this may only be the bronze medal match, but this means everything to these players. With the 2 teams who are in the gold medal match dominating the sport worldwide, both in World Championships and in Paralympics. This, in effect, is a gold medal match for the rest of the world. And the Russian team, in spite of their disappointment, in spite of having won the bronze medal in Beijing and trying to hold on to it here, they are very sportingly waiting there at the net to congratulate the victors in this bronze medal match. Each of the German players, Wiesenthal, in tears there, tears of joy as he gives his coach a hug, who came in after they didn't qualify for Beijing. The referees who have kept control of this game, there's not been any problems at all. So it's been an easy day for them. It's been a very, very tough day for the Russians because they have lost this bronze medal match to the Germans. 16-14 in the 5th set. Savichev, who has been the golden boy of this tournament, who has been the top scorer for the Russians. As is often the way in sport, you may be a hero 1 minute, but then he put that spike long and gave the gold medal, the bronze medal rather, to the Germans. But let's not blame him because the Germans fought for this. Natalia has been talking all the way through about the fact that the Germans needed to concentrate, they needed to keep their effort up through the whole game, and they concentrated right to the end there, Natalia, and they've taken
really
home the
incredible.
bronze.
Those